Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound and healthy. And now we're going to talk a little more about the most hilariously, ironically despicable act that has been played out, which you can see on the news and you can actually see on the net. And that is Israel actually asking Pakistan to help them to curb Iran. Remember how I talked about the moron on Instagram who was saying, oh, no offense, but you people are with Iran and so you're this and so you're that and so we cannot expect anything honest from you people, and you are, terrorists and you are this and now I would love to find that moron and ask him, okay, so now why are you crying, chanting slogans, making reels of Israeli public all coming out, screaming blue murder, asking desperately for Pakistan's help? Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that shameless? Isn't that despicable? That is the most despicable thing I've ever seen, but it proves my point. It proves the point that I've been making for such a long time that I'm myself sick and tired of repeating myself, but it seems it still hasn't entered people's brains properly yet. Pakistan is the padlock of Asia. That is the biggest misfortune for us Pakistanis, that our land is the padlock of Asia. You want to control or wage war in anywhere in Asia, and you have to land in Pakistan. You have to use and abuse Pakistan's soil in order to achieve these goals. And this is why America has never left its claws. It's, the hook that America's got onto us, it just doesn't let us go. It's because of this. It's exactly for this reason. They want to use us against Afghanistan. They want to use us against Russia. They want to use us against China. They want to use us against Iran. They want to use us against the Middle East. Anywhere and everywhere. They even wanted to use us, remember, in the 9/11 charade, which had nothing to do with us. It was all the way over there in America. Why the frack were we fighting their war here? And this is what they have a problem with Imran Khan for, because this is exactly what he has also been screaming blue murder about. Why the frack were we fighting a war that was never ours? First of all, why is it that nobody questioned the war? That is me now. This is what I have always said. Why is it that nobody questioned it? Why is it that nobody questioned the 9/11 charade? The Germans questioned it. But hey, presto, look at that. The Germans have been controlled now. Since their former leader has stepped down and the new leader has come now, Germany is under American control. And once again, Germany is on the wrong side of history, once again. But then, as you see, Nazis will always be Nazis. And then again, it also again begs the question that were the Jews really, really, really victims of the Nazis? Because from what I can see, the Jews are the Nazis. So wherever they go, they wreak havoc. These are those people. This is that nation that bit the hand that fed them. When they had nowhere to go, when their Christian brothers, who they're using now against all of us, when those Christian Nazi extremist terrorist brothers of theirs committed genocide against them, which again I'm saying now, I don't even know how much truth there is in this whole Holocaust scenario, because we know that history has been rewritten many times, and we know that there's a lot of false and fake historical events that have been penned down in history books. Because remember, it's always the winner who writes the history, so you don't really know what exactly happened. But there you are. We've got these people who allegedly faced genocide at the hands of their Christian brothers, their Christian extremist terrorist brothers, and they had nowhere to turn to. And who gave them refuge? The Muslims. The Muslims gave them refuge all over the world. And wherever they were given refuge, all those countries now have been at the mercy of Zionism. They have been torn apart by wars. They have been basically colonized, because what else can you call those countries now? Look at Jordan. Look at Syria. Look at Palestine. These are all countries that gave refuge. Look at Egypt. Look at what happened to Egypt so many times. Any and every country that has helped the Jews has now fallen to chaos. This is how the Jews thank the people who helped them. And now they want us to commit the same mistake of helping them. Seriously? First of all, it would be a huge act of treason. But then we do know, as I said, that the army chief is US planted. The army chief went to the US in order to once again make those promises, or in other words, to be reminded why he was put where he's put, to be reminded why he was put in the position that he did not even deserve or qualify for, and that he needs to earn his pay now. He needs to earn his due. And this is a message that they will pass on to the Sharif family and to Zardari. And now the Sharif family and Zardari, the reason why they're quiet is because they're actually in a bit of an inner struggle where they know that they will be totally effed if they even whisper their consent to us helping Israel. Because the people of Pakistan are against it. The people of Pakistan were against us being used by the Americans in Afghanistan as well. But did anybody listen to us? This is where I'm going to now bring in my point. First of all, extremely shameless, extremely ridiculous, extremely despicable of the Jews, of the Israelis, to ask us to help them. They attacked Iran. And do you remember, Israel was not on our side when India attacked us, by the way. First of all, now let's talk politics. And let's talk common sense, and let's talk about how you make your alliances, okay? First of all, constitutionally, we don't even accept Israel as a country because Palestine is a country. Israel is the occupant, okay? Illegal occupant. So we're always on the side of Palestine. But as we know, again, as I said, the army chief and this government, they have pledged allegiance to America and Israel. And they have tried to keep it secret. In fact, the only reason they were brought back was because they promised allegiance to these two countries. They have practically sold Pakistan out. And this is where and how you're going to find out now. Now, some people, especially when I was listening a bit to Moeed Pirzada and Dr. Shabazz Gill and all, now Moeed Pirzada made this point that, this scenario of the army chief being put in such a situation could prove maybe optimistic for PTI. But no, I would argue opposite. To me, this will now be even worse for Imran Khan and PTI. Because, listen, we have a history of our generals selling us out. Again, go all the way to Yahya Ayub, all of them, Ziaul Haq, they've all sold us out. They've literally even sold pieces of our land. They've not even sold, they've just dashed it. This is a word we use in Nigeria, in Nigerian English dialect, is that we literally dashed our lands to China and to Iran. Okay, remember that. This is the kind of generals that we have had. You actually expect that this general is going to be, and this general is even worse. As I said, our army right from the start, if you understand that Quaid-e-Azam was killed, you will understand that right from the beginning, our army was always planted, okay? It was always an institution that never served Pakistan. It was always an anti-state institution, like it or not, it's a fact, okay? And it was always an outfit that was used by the British and the Americans. And it was always an outfit that was used against Pakistan's interests. And this was the very outfit that was used to kill Pakistani leaders that tried to defy America or Britain and tried to work for Pakistani's interest. Okay? Understand that. And the most recent is Imran Khan. As we know, they tried to kill him at least 3 times. And they put him in jail and everything, and this was all at the orders of the American establishment, the American government, and they shouldn't even dare try to deny that. It's a fact. It's a well-known fact. And soon after a few years, you will find it released amongst the CIA confidential documents that will come out. And now, what is even as I said, is what is even worse is that because this army chief, if he decides that it is incumbent upon him to maintain his post by hook or by crook, and that the only way he can do it is by fulfilling his promise to allow Pakistan to be used by the Americans, and not just to be used, but to allow the Pakistani army to be used by the Americans against Iran, then what is the first thing that he's going to do? He is going to implement full censorship on the media, which already is implemented, but they're thinking that, oh, now people are beginning to talk. The journalist touts, the touts who are speaking up for the government and the army, they are now speaking up against this scenario. So they're thinking that, oh, this might open up. And no, actually, I think, as I said, if he decides to go against our national interest and to go against our people, there is only one way he can do it and survive. And he knows that. And that is the same old way. And that is apply complete censorship and increase the hunt down of PTI members, because there will be protests. There are already being protests going on. And just now we had a recent protest in Islamabad where once again they beat up and attacked the peaceful protesters. What does that tell you? It can intensify. They will, in fact, their aggression against Imran Khan will intensify, because they will now try their level best to just snub and, to just smother everybody that can go against them. Any and every opposition and oppression must be completely smothered in order for them to do what they need to do to please their master, the American government. And that is a worrying concept, because this is why in my last podcast I asked everybody, are you going to sit and watch this train wreck too? Because let's face it, the charade that we played through with the Americans in Afghanistan, that cost us a lot. It has cost us a lot. It has cost us huge resources and manpower. And it's not worth it. Our army are not hired mercenaries, although actually, again, apparently they are by the looks of it. But a Pakistani army officially is not supposed to be a hired mercenary outfit to be used by any government against any other government or any other country. If you remember, Liaquat Ali Khan was killed because he refused to allow Pakistan to be dragged into any wars by the Americans. And he made a speech, if you remember, in which he literally said that the whole idea of Pakistan, the whole concept of Pakistan is peace. And we are ready to work with any and every country in order to mediate peace all over the world. But we will not wage wars, and we will definitely not encroach upon other countries' sovereignty just to please other countries or to be dragged in by other countries in their wars. This is not what Pakistan stands for, and that is why he was killed. You need to understand that. This is why Imran Khan was removed, because he was putting together all the Muslim countries once again to make a united front against Israel, against India, against all the oppressors that were oppressing different nations. And this is why he was removed. And this is a well-known fact again, because all the Muslim leaders very openly talked about it. The Palestinians openly talked about it. The Kashmiris openly talked about it. The Malaysians, the Turkish, the Indonesians, everybody's been talking about it for quite a long time, because everybody knows that this is one of the biggest reasons why Imran Khan was an eyesore for the Western world. Is because not only was he setting precedents that the Western world was obliged to follow in different trends, but he was setting a very, very dangerous precedent for them that would weaken their political position in the world war that they have been planning so hard for decades to wage, in especially Asia. And then obviously they're going to move on to Africa. Again, remember, you have Germany, you have France, you have the UK, you have America, and then you have Canada and Australia, who have no choice because they're still a part of the UK, politically speaking, they're still colonies of the UK. They were supposed to they have had referendums in which they were supposed to choose whether they wanted to still be under the Queen or not, and to their own detriment, they chose to remain under the Queen. So now they have no other option. They're obliged to be part of this war. So there you have it. The whole world, as I said before, has been planning and working towards this war in one capacity or the other. Now, the disappointment here is that no matter how reckless Israel and America are getting, China and Russia and other countries are not actively stopping them. As they did when the World War II started, there was an active offense and defense mechanism going on, which is why the whole World War II literally exploded, right? Now, I guess I understand that the Chinese and the Middle Eastern parties, the Russian parties, even some of the African parties, the other Asian countries, their parties, I think they're reluctant because, again, thinking about how we cannot afford another war. But again, we cannot afford another war. Despite that, Israel just created another war situation for us. And America is in a hell of a situation because, okay, to be fair, Trump up till now was right when he said that I don't know why Obama got the Nobel Prize. He didn't deserve it. It's true. I agree with that. You know why? Obama, when he was elected because he made a promise where he said there will be no wars. The American soldiers will all come back to the US soil. They will not be engaging in any kind of activities in other countries' soils. And he was talking not just about, Afghanistan. He was talking about all the illegal black ops activities that the American armies and their hired mercenaries were basically conducting all over the world. He failed to deliver on that promise. During Obama's time, Pakistan was hit with the most number of drones, and they were all hit on civilian targets. During Obama's time, the fabrication of Osama bin Laden being in Pakistan and killed by the American soldiers just so that Obama could maintain his position as president, So Osama bin Laden, a person who was already declared dead 2 times in 2 different governments, was now resurrected and killed for a 3rd time, just for an American president to save his seat once again. Every single time he was resurrected and killed, it was to save the seat of an American president. Notice that. During Obama's time, the American grip over Afghanistan lasted the longest, and they were the most damaged parts of the region because Pakistan was very negatively affected and Afghanistan was obviously affected, right? So Obama definitely did not deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. And yes, contradicting that, in contrast to that, we see that when Trump came, let's be honest, there were no wars. He really did manage to pull everybody back. Something that Obama failed miserably to do so, although one can argue that it was again the machinery that basically handcuffed Obama and tied his hands and didn't allow him to do what he wanted to do. But hey presto, they allowed Trump to do it because now it served their purpose. So he gets credit for that, although again it's because the establishment was ready. Now, again, according to him, he was behind the ceasefire between Pakistan and India. Okay, let him take that credit. But you see now, if there are 2 things now that deter him from deserving the Nobel Peace Prize, which he needs to understand. If he really, really, really wants that prize, he should back off now from the Iran problem. He should not make the decision of joining Israel or backing Israel up. Although, again, America has already been backing Israel up because, as you can see, Israel on its own is nothing. It can do nothing. And it is already regretting hitting Iran because it is now being bombarded by Iran. So much so that it's actually weeping and chanting slogans, literally even asking from its enemy state, Pakistan, to help it out. Seriously. And then you have Trump on the other side, where he backed Israel openly against Palestine because he kept on telling Palestine, oh, you know what, you should surrender. Now he's telling Iran, oh, you know what, you should surrender. These 2 points go against Trump. So if you really, really want to win the prize, you need to back off. You need to proceed with caution. You need to see what it is that you're doing, because what you're doing right now is against the whole concept of earning that peace prize. How can you earn a Nobel Peace Prize when you are literally engaging in war? You are allowing a third party to engage in war. You are funding that war. You're weaponizing that war. And you're literally telling the other party who is defending itself that it should surrender. And as I said before, Khomeini is already a target, which now analysts are beginning to understand. It's amazing. I mean, seriously, are they really that dense that it took them this long to understand that he is the target? Seriously? Well, anyway. So now here we are. We have this utterly ridiculous situation where Pakistan, that was till date called a terrorist state by Israel, and Israel weaponized India against Pakistan, and Israel defended India against Pakistan and against occupied Kashmir. And now Israel suddenly is begging Pakistan to help it. Seriously? Obviously, but that this shows you, that the whole narrative that they're creating. Understand that too. The political narrative that they're creating. Listen, Iran and Afghanistan, politically speaking, they're not our allies, in case you didn't know that. Although I've said that before in a very old podcast of mine. They are allies of India, okay? They did not even accept Pakistan when Pakistan came into being. But notice again how every single time there was trouble in both of these countries, the first country that they sought refuge in was Pakistan. You don't see Afghanis traveling to India or America, the 2 countries that have been constantly actually interfering on the ground of Afghanistan's soil. You don't see Afghanis fleeing to these 2 countries. No, the first country of choice, Pakistan. When Iran had its revolution, and when there was a lot of violence during that revolution, first country of choice, Pakistan. So a lot of Iranians came and settled in Pakistan. And many of them came to Pakistan years later when things got better. They either went back to Iran or they traveled on to other countries. But the first place that all these countries near us look to whenever there's trouble is Pakistan. Okay? I mean, it's no wonder Pakistan has had the largest number of refugees in the whole world for a very, very long time. And now you need to understand that Pakistan is situated in such a position, once again, where it can be easily used and abused. And my biggest problem with Pakistan is that it always allows itself to be used and abused because we have traitors. Now, the kind of traitors that now they want to plant in Iran, the kind of traitors that they planted in Iraq, the kind of traitors that they've been trying to plant in Egypt, which they did twice, the kind of traitors that they try to plant in Syria, and then they caused this whole civil war, the kind of traitors that they have been trying to plant in different African countries so that they can control their resources. You see where I'm going with that? I mean, there's not a single former colony of the Europeans that is still not under them in exactly this form, where they just literally they pick and choose the leaders of these countries. And then those leaders are obviously not leaders because they are hired mercenaries only in political form. And they are just placed there either in the army or in the bureaucracy, and they're literally trained, and they're, educated, and they're literally put through this whole, it's like years and years of training to make them these future leaders of their countries. And notice how every single one of them is either incompetent or corrupt, or both. They're always corrupt in any case, but some are competent and corrupt, some are incompetent and corrupt. It doesn't matter to them as long as they're corrupt. Okay, these are all sellouts. These are people, again, as I said, these are literally hired mercenaries of the political world. And this is why in our countries there has never been peace. And look at India, as I said, the biggest fool of all fools, now suddenly spending more on its defense. Pakistan was already a huge fool, spending so much on its defense. Now, who are you defending? Have you seen the Pakistani army defend its people? No, the Pakistani army has been attacking its own people. Who are they defending? They're defending the Americans. They're always defending the Americans. They're working for the Americans. America tells them to go to Afghanistan, they'll go to Afghanistan. America will tell them to go to Iran, they'll go to Iran. America will tell them to go to Russia, they'll go to Russia, for all you know. You just don't know, because again, the Pakistani army is not the Pakistani army. It's another mercenary outfit that has been carefully planted. It has been hired by the British or the Americans in this instant, because the Americans are the delegatees. And here we are. We're always put in a situation where our own military has always worked against us. We are the state. The military is not the state. The government is not the state. They are servants of the state. We are the state. And yet they are attacking the state. Who are the traitors then here? The government, the army, the intelligence bureaus. These are the traitors. So yeah, I find that very, 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 very ridiculous, really, that this was so obvious. It was something that I've been talking about for such a long time, and it's coming to pass. And once again, our people, like zombies, are just going to, hold protests here and there. And the army is then going to pretend as if, oh yeah, no, they're going to play it cool. They're going to pretend as if, oh, nothing's happening, while actually quietly oppressing everybody, and then increasing their aggression against PTI, increasing their aggression against Imran Khan. And then you will find out, oh, they've already gone and done something with the Americans against Iran. This is working against Pakistan's interest. Now, as I said, if we were actually a dignified country enough to literally slaughter them, then one would argue that in order to keep his life and his loved ones' lives, he would renege from any promises that he made, or he would be made to resign from his post. But because he wants to keep his post, which is why he kept these promises, which is why he went all the way there to make those promises, to be reminded of why he was put in this post in the first place, so what is he going to do? This is up to us. But is it really up to us? As I just said, they have a very solid way of keeping the public in check. It's just like how American government has always kept its public in check. As I said, the Americans who have always lived in this ridiculous bubble where they think that, oh no, they have a democracy and they have a voice. I'll ask the same questions. Did you manage to stop the invasion, the attempted invasion of Afghanistan, in which you lost miserably? Did you manage to stop the Vietnam War? Did you manage to stop the attack on Iraq? It lasted years, again, a lot of damage. And you looted and plundered Iraq as well. There's no country where the American soldiers haven't been. And those assets, money, resources, and heritage relics, they've not been stolen. It's never happened. Every single time you've had the Europeans enter into these countries, things have been stolen. Because at the end of the day, the Europeans are, remember, pirates. They are your looters and plunderers. This is their heritage. This is the European heritage. Okay, Europeans have always been pirates. They've always been plunderers. They've always been looters. thieves. So, it doesn't matter how many civilizations they try to borrow from and how civilized they try to act. But at the end of the day, their heritage speaks volumes, you know. So here we are sitting once again on our haunches. Once again, things that will pass will pass. And once again, we're just going to, lament and pray for God. As I said, as Muslims, one of the worst things you can do is to sit and pray, because in Islam, that's not what we're taught to do. No. In Islam, we're taught to get off our haunches and to make the changes with our own two hands. God helps those who help themselves. And I'm sorry to say, but the Pakistanis have never, ever done a good job of helping themselves. We just, come up for a few hours, a few days of protests, and then we sit down. The only one time when Pakistan surprised the world and surprised me, when Pakistan went against the norm, was when, under the leadership of Imran Khan, we staged massive, huge protests that lasted months and months and months on end, and we defied everything. We defied all odds. But now, here we are having a few thousand protesters here, a few thousand protesters there. It's not that same collective union, And again, I would say it's because it's partly Imran Khan's fault, because he broke that momentum. When he was being arrested, the whole of Pakistan did get up. The whole of Pakistan was very aggressively ready to be united in a huge country shutdown, a lockdown protest. But he said, no, don't. And that was, again, a huge mistake. Our mistake was, the people's mistake was listening to him. They shouldn't have listened to him. What he was trying to prevent, as I said even that time, the violence that he was trying to prevent, he actually gave leverage to the army. And so the army ultimately did start that violence and use it against the people of Pakistan. It used it against the PTI members. It used it against Imran Khan. So what were you trying to save, really? You actually just gave them leverage, and you gave them the opportunity to exert violence and then to blame us for that violence. So here we are, full circle. Once again, our army, as I said before, because Imran Khan refused to give bases to the American army, he was ousted, because he was uniting the whole Muslim Ummah. And remember, the Muslim Ummah is not a myth. I know the Indians, they like to think that, at the end of the day, I guess it's just a myth. It's not a myth. Why do you think that the Western powers have exerted so much wealth, so many resources against the unity of the Muslim Ummah? Why do you think they spent decades and trillions and multi-trillions of dollars just to divide the Muslim Ummah? Is because they know that it is a huge present threat. And that is why Imran Khan was a threat, because he was once again putting them all together. And notice how that friction that the Western world had maintained between Iran and Saudi, notice how Imran Khan finished that friction. It's another story that China suddenly decided to take credit for it, because ultimately Imran Khan was, deposed right in the middle of the whole thing. But actually, the credit goes to Imran Khan. The credit that China would take, I guess, would be that they managed to finish it off. They managed to conclude it nicely, in Imran Khan's absence. Yes, they managed to continue and finish it nicely. But the credit of actually starting the whole process of mediation, of getting them together, of getting the agreements, that is Imran Khan's. So he accomplished the impossible, which to others was an impossible mission, because, again, as I said, a huge number of resources has been poured for decades into maintaining this friction between the two countries. And Imran Khan just comes calm as you are, and suddenly the two countries decide to unite. Obviously, this was a nightmare for the Western world. And then he started uniting the Middle Eastern countries together. Those Middle Eastern countries that were coming under, again, the Western influence, and that were coming under the, Indian influence. And so they were getting away from all of that once again and uniting. Malaysia, Indonesia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi, UAE, different, and then different African countries, African, West Africa, and different other Muslim countries, again, joining hands. And this was a nightmare. So yeah, that's it. If this was really the Muslim Ummah, the unity, if it was a myth, why do you think so much resources is being spent to make them fight against each other? Why is it that you think so much wealth has been spent to implant corrupt leadership in these countries, to plant puppets in these countries, to plant pro-American, pro-Israeli puppets? Why? Because, as I said, these are not leaders. These who are planted into these different countries, these are not leaders. These are mercenaries in the political world. And their sole job is to pit heads, to work against the Muslim interests, to work against the, the unifying interests of the Muslim world, Because remember, mercenaries have no religion, they have no country. Like businessmen. Businessmen have no religion and they have no country. And this is why we are where we are today. So the rest is, as I said, now up to you, because we are full circle back to where we started. And this time, the fact that our army is so openly, our chief of army is very, very openly showing, and he's showing it to us that, yes, look, I was indeed chosen by the Americans for this purpose. And this is a promise that I made. And now they've called me here to remind me to fulfill that promise, to earn my due. And I have no choice but to do that if I need to keep my position in the army. So, what are you, Pakistanis, going to do about that? This is me signing out for the Hafiz.